Hello, thanks for joining us for our final Environmental Friday video all about good soil. This video was put together on behalf of the Caring for Creation team by Faith Fitzpatrick and myself, Ashley Becker. Today we'll be talking about why the soil is so important and what we can do to help preserve it. The soil is not just dirt. It is full of life. In a single teaspoon of soil, there are billions of little microorganisms, which means there are more microorganisms in a healthy teaspoon of soil than there are people on the earth. Those microorganisms are critical to the soil ecosystem, but they only make up a small fraction of the soil. So what makes up the rest? About 45% is minerals, so sand, silt, and clay. Another 50% is pore space, with about half being air and half being water. That leaves approximately 5% for soil organic matter, which is made up of decomposing plant and animal tissues. About half of soil organic matter is soil organic carbon. When we increase soil organic matter, and therefore soil organic carbon, it has benefits which extend to all different spatial scales. Locally, more soil organic matter helps to increase water retention and water infiltration. Both are critical during droughts and extreme rainfall events. More soil organic matter also helps to increase overall productivity of the soil. Nationally, increased soil organic matter can help to minimize runoff and erosion, which has the potential to help improve water quality and reduce the excess of nutrients in the Gulf of Mexico, which has contributed to algal blooms, which limits oxygen. And globally, increased soil organic matter can help to mitigate climate change through increasing carbon that's stored in the soil as opposed to as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It takes a while for soil organic matter to build up, so undisturbed soils are super important, but very rare. Old soils in Wisconsin have thick black topsoil that has accumulated since the glaciers receded thousands of years ago. It is very important to protect the remaining undisturbed soils. Faith is going to show us what some older soils look like.
This park is along one of the busiest roads in Madison, University Avenue. You can hear the traffic, but you can't see it. And the soils here have never been disturbed because it's next to a spring and surrounded by effigy mounds. So let's see what we see with the soils here. So I went down 4 feet with this little core burr. You can see it here, and the whole way down we had this nice black soil. It's kind of like what you would find in a wetland, and you can see it's a little wet here. So this is from 0 at the surface, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, and how dark it is down here. And it takes a long time for soil to look like this. If you're a gardener, you kind of know how long and how much care it takes to build up the organic matter in the soil. And so this is done naturally. You have the water close to the surface. I don't know if you can see that in there. Kind of, you can tell that hole is wet there. So again, what we don't see are the microorganisms that help to make that soil possible, and to have the leaves, and this represents of many years and decades of leaves and plants being broken down by organisms. And then it's all kind of held together by the roots of the plants that we see here, and then the trees as well. And the other thing that's kind of neat too is in these areas, they're kind of like islands or oases of these old soils that perhaps hold organisms that we don't even know what benefit they have, but they've been doing their job the whole time behind the scenes.
Soil is also the foundation of our food systems. Faith is going to show us one special way that food can be grown. This is the new Three Sisters Garden at Spring Harbor Middle School in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a small representation of what the Ho-Chunk Nation and the people that preceded them may have grown. The Three Sisters are corn, beans, and squash. Planting these three crops together, which grow very well with one another, is called companion planting. The location of this garden is near where there used to be effigy mounds. So this was, and still is, a sacred area for the Ho-Chunk Nation. Let's take a look at the soils here.
Here's a picture of the soil here up on the hill compared to the forest soil that's shown on the top here that was in the previous video. This soil, you can see it's much browner, and then on the top, and then it goes into sand right away. So it's got about 1.5 feet of topsoil and that rich organic matter, and this is presently being built up by the application of composted material, leaves, straw, and then also sustained by the Three Sisters plants that are growing nearby. And here's the corn and the beans and the squash. And then the fourth plant that's very important is the sunflower, which you can see all over on the north side, so it doesn't block the or shade out the other plants.
It is in our own best interest to preserve the soil, but soil loss through erosion is occurring. Some researchers at the University of Massachusetts have found that the A horizon of soil, or the topsoil, has been eroded from roughly 1/3 of the Midwestern U.S. Corn Belt. This loss contributes to losses of carbon, reductions in crop yields, and substantial economic losses. This has effects both locally and globally. For all these reasons, caring for God's creation includes caring for the soil. So how can we help? First, it's important to keep the soil covered, whether that's applying mulch on your own garden or supporting agriculture that uses cover crops and perennials. For example, supporting grass-fed meat supports perennial agriculture. Crop diversity is also important, and you can increase the diversity in your own garden. And another option is to compost food scraps, which helps to keep those out of the landfill and provides an option for adding more organic matter to the soil. Just remember that there's no one right way to care for the environment. So start small, but start somewhere. Thanks for tuning in to our Environmental Friday series.